Garrick asks, why does Zack Snyder keep trolling about the Snyder Cut? Well, okay, so here's why Snyder keeps trolling over the Snyder Cut. Because it's coming. It has to be coming at this point. You don't spend 4 years talking about this, sort of, at least 2.5 years talking about this if there wasn't something on the horizon. And to really kind of understand this, you have to go back to 2016. I think everything revolves around the second weekend of BVS. So in the opening weekend of BVS, it did $185 million, right? Now, keep in mind, this is coming off of a bad Rotten Tomato score, and the critics all hating it, right? But just like a few weeks earlier, there was a report about how there was a standing ovation at the end of the movie. That there was a standing ovation with at some point in the production process. But this was like, I want to say this was, I think, early 2017, right? Like before Zack Snyder officially left. He left in May 2017. His daughter took her own life, unfortunately. The tragedy happened in March of 2017. So there was clearly stuff that was going on in the early phases of 2017 before the reshoot process. And before Joss Whedon came on board, he was brought on board, I want to say March of 2017 as well, to work on the scripting, and then he wasn't brought in to be the director until after Zack Snyder left the project in May of that year. They didn't do reshoots, I think, until June or July. So again, there's a timeline of events here that need to be looked at. So what you do is you go back and you look at the second week of BVS in 2016, when the movie cratered, and I mean cratered down to like, I think it was like a 76 or 78% drop or something. It was insane. Now, granted, at the time, I actually tried to defend it a little bit. I did. I was like, it's not that bad. No. I was wrong. It was 100% that bad. It was super bad. The movie wasn't good. The theatrical cut is terrible. We all know this. Right, we all know this. So what happened was, after that went down, Warner Brothers stepped in, and I believe this was the work of Kevin Tushihara himself, the former CEO of Warner Brothers. And what happened was they took Zack Snyder off the mantle, out of DCEU. They demoted him, even though they were balls deep in filming Justice League at the time. They took him off they took him out of the leader position, brought in Jeff Johns and that other guy, brought in Ben Affleck. They promoted Ben Affleck to executive producer, and they wanted him to oversee the edit of the movie because Affleck had just won for Argo in 2016, right? He had won Best Picture, and for maybe not, maybe it was a year before that. But it was very close by. He had won for Argo. So Warner's was like, I'm gonna reward Ben Affleck here. We want him in this movie. We want his filmmaking talent to be in this movie, which is why him not doing Batman still breaks my heart, because I thought he would have done a great job. Really, if he would have been able to crack that nut and dive in, I think an Affleck directed Batman movie would have been like legitimately a Best Picture contender. That being said, I still think Matt Reeves is going to make something that is truly awesome, so I'm not against that. So anyway, they took Zack Snyder off all that stuff. They restructured the DCEU entirely, and they brought in new management. Now, what they probably didn't expect to happen was that BVS's extended cut, the Ultimate Edition, would do as well as it did. And I mentioned this earlier on Andy Signore's show, and he kind of downplayed it a little bit because I don't think he wanted to actually face reality. But in the summer of 2016, and this is legitimately true, when the Blu-ray came out in July of 2016, I think it was like the third week of July 2016. For the next 5 weeks, it was the number one selling Blu-ray and the number one selling DVD. So it was number one on the chart for 5 weeks. Think about that. When a movie that was so critically hated, so audience destroyed, that at the end of when it hit home video and that extra 30 minutes came out and everyone was all like, yay, right? When that whole thing happened, so many people out there went and flocked and bought it. They bought the hell out of it for 5 weeks. And you know what was number 2 on the home video charts for 4 of those 5 weeks? The Killing Joke, the DC animated film that played for one night at a Fathom event in July of 2016. And it was so popular, it was so demanded, Warner Brothers actually scheduled a second encore showing the next night because the fan demand was so high, showing you that at least in the summer of 2016, the Zack Snyder-led DCEU, as we knew it at the time, the 2 films we had gotten had amassed enough of a following for people to pay out money to go and see this stuff. The DC fan base was strong. And then from there, when he left the project, and then we found out all the problems surrounding it, and we knew about how there was a lot of problems at Warner's in DC, and they were jumping around, they didn't know what they wanted to do. And they've been in this limbo ever since. They've been trying to get things off the ground. Jeff Johns did a good job getting Aquaman going, and he got no love when Justice League crashed out and burned. They removed him. Even though the head of studio for Warner Brothers, Kevin Tushihara, is the one who ordered a hard 2-hour cut. So we know that there's a lot more footage that was shot. It's another reason why the release of Snyder Cut movement is so popular. And so as a result of that, the thing we're currently dealing with here has more to do with Zack Snyder not being given the opportunity to finish his film, not being given the opportunity to actually give the fans what they want, and fans that have spent years now demanding that cut of the film because they want to finish Snyder's vision. They want to see what he had in mind, and everything we've learned has showed us that it would be better even if it was just animatic form, if it was a work print, if it wasn't 100% complete. Everything we saw would have 100% been better than what we ultimately ended up getting, and that is just true. So yeah, Zack Snyder at this point trolling everybody is because I think something is on the horizon. I really do. I really think something is on the horizon. All the data suggests that something is coming. HBO Max feels like the best possible distribution platform because it would be cheaper for Warner Brothers to invest the money into finishing finishing Justice League with Snyder's original vision, not shooting new principal photography, but finishing the VFX, and then putting that on HBO Max. That would be a way to completely sell people on the property, to sell them on the movie, and to sell them on the future of DC content being on HBO Max and not DC Universe, which at this point is just effectively dead, but they haven't come out and outright said it yet because they don't want to cause a problem before HBO Max gets officially released. So yeah, there's a lot that's going on there. There's stuff I've overlooked. There's stuff that I'm not adding in. I do need to sit down and actually work on a documentary for that. I think if I sat down and really worked on a 2-hour release the Snyder Cut documentary, it would really blow a lot of people away because there's so much information that a lot of people don't know. And they also don't want to know. Every time I get into these arguments with people, it just boils down to semantics, and by people who just want to overlook the data in order to try to get a point across, which makes no sense because, again, objective thinking, objective viewing, and following the evidence where it leads, which is what we should do, gets left out behind because people are just trying to, I don't know, argue a dumb point and try to score a point when really we were about wanting to see something cool and something better than what Justice League was, which was arguably not good, or else the release of Snyder Cut movement would not be as popular, as prevalent, and as forceful as it is. Thanks for watching this clip from Hollywood After Dark. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, a comment, subscribe, support via Patreon, and check us out at twitch.tv/3bucktheater. Thank you again, have yourself a great day, and peace out.